a lot of people, when it comes to money in general, they do not look or see the intersect of a lot of things, right? It's like we stick money in this own box, but then we have to remember and think about the fact that, first of all, money is literally touching every aspect of our life.
There's actually like real practical things. So I consider it, there's like 5 different areas where that is a real applicable thing. What I usually talk about is that the last thing on the list would be like your health. That's obviously, we can get into these in a little bit more detail, but there's health, environment, presentation, self-confidence, and then the process. And so those are sort of the 5 steps.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jacqueline, or Jax Kreider. And today we have Mr. Cody Jones joining us. And Cody is a really unique guy. He is somebody who has been in the landscaping business for a really long time, and that gave him kind of a start into really understanding business on a deeper level, as well as he's kind of a little bit of maybe like a fitness freak. He'll kind of talk to you a little bit about that here in a minute, but he has a very unique perspective. And so I really appreciate him being a guest today. So welcome, Cody. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you're excited to be on the podcast today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yeah, man. So I think obviously we all like talking about money, how we can make more money, how we can improve money, the mindset around money. And I was mentioning kind of before we rolled that I feel like there's for me, I saw a big connection with fitness and sort of my revenue in my business and the growth of my business. So I don't know if you want to get into that or what we're talking about there, but to preface all that, like you said, I have a company, a landscaping company that I've had for about 11 years. I learned a lot of business, from that. I had to teach myself a lot. I mean, I started it from the ground up just myself. As I was going through this business, somewhere around year number 5, I started a fitness plan. I started working out, and I really just started working out just to work out. I mean, just to, get fit,
Sure.
Just have a better body, whatever. But I noticed that I saw a lot of growth at the time. And I was talking to a coach one time, and I was like, dude, I don't know if like I got better as a person, if that's a thing, if we can do that, better
Right.
as a person because I was, working on myself, or if my business improved. He was like, dude, your business definitely improved when you started working on yourself. And so I think that's a connection that I really try to draw to people. You hear like a lot of wealthy people are usually have some sort of fitness plan, or they're very healthy people. You
Sure.
hear that wealth is health. And so I think that the health, the fitness world, and the financial world are definitely combined. There's definitely some synergy there.
No, I don't disagree with you. I think a lot of people, when it comes to money in general, they do not look or see the intersect of a lot of things, right? It's like we stick money in this own box, but then we have to remember and think about the fact that, first of all, money is literally touching every aspect of our life, right? There's literally not a single day in time where you go where money is not touching something. You're paying a bill, you're going out to grab groceries, or whatever the case it may be, right? You're making money because of retirement accounts, or whatever the case. And so it's literally intersecting. So why in the world, with things like fitness, improving yourself, why would that not intersect with money? The thing is that people just don't talk about it, right? It's like we separate these things out, and we're like, well, like, why is Jacqueline having somebody who deals with like fitness and coaching in a landscape company talk about money? Well, the problem is that's the whole thing, right? Is that people are not recognizing these intersects and how important they are. And the fact that they really, truly can interlink. I joke and laugh all the time. People will say, oh, I can't be on your podcast. I say, why not? Well, I don't work in the financial space. I said, okay, who cares? Well, but I don't have any expertise. I said, you actually do. You intersect with money all the time to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, man. One of the best things I've ever heard about money is that money is not a one size fits all. Like, I think that we think, just like fitness is not a one size fits all. I mean, I could literally be here all day talking about the similarities, but it's not a one size fits all, man. It's like when you're outside of this space, if you've never been in the business space or the professional or corporate space, whatever it is, if you've never been around this, it's easy to look at it and think that finance is just something that a certain type of person has figured out. And it's almost like an art form, because it's so unique to the person. I mean, yes, there's blueprints you can follow, and yes, there's things people have done that are successful, but I think looking at it in a way that like these people have something figured out that I don't, that's very dangerous, because it limits you. It's disempowering. And
for sure,
being in the business space, man, one thing that I've definitely learned from, the mindset coaching and stuff like that is that we put these people on pedestals, and we put these, these leaders and these people, and these are just people. These people who do great things, they're just people just like we are. And I don't think there's anything wrong with admiring people, because I actually think if you're in business and you put yourself in rooms where people who are quote unquote more successful than you eventually become the people that you admire. But I think the problem is that the sort of thing we need to be careful with is that these are just people. They're just people just like you. So when you look at that celebrity, you look at that, person who's changing the world or doing whatever they're doing. World leaders may not be a good example to use right now, but if you look at people who are just like in that space that you admire for whatever reason, business leaders, if you look at these people, they're just people, man. They're just people, and they figured out something that works with them, for their personality style, and they've brought that to the earth, and everybody has that unique thing to bring. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the one thing that kind of the theme of Financial Mastery Simplified is your life, your terms, because I talk a lot about the fact that I've worked in the financial space for well over 20 years. And even still, I don't have it all figured out. Because you're right. We are just people, right? Yes, I have more information than most people, which is why I do this podcast, because I want people to understand and have conversations and have, understanding about certain aspects and what is relating to money. However, on the same token, just like you said, there's insights about money that you hold that I don't necessarily hold. Like, for instance, I'm not necessarily the most fitnessly inclined person. I'm definitely more on the arts brain kind of, nerding out. Like, that's really more my thing. But I don't disagree with you. When you work to level yourself up, whether it be fitness or whatever you are leveling up, you naturally inside your body, inside your brain, like you naturally are starting to level up everything, right? We don't just level up one thing in our lives usually. It's usually a kind of more holistic approach, which is why I think there's such an integral link there, is because, hey, you're like, I'm leveling up my body. Well, you start leveling up your body, it makes you start thinking about other things, right? Like how do I need to be more diligent about, being disciplined on handling whatever the business aspects are, right? And then are involving money in my business and or my personal life, right? If we're not necessarily owning a business, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's I get your point with that. The thing is though, that when I say that there's a connection to fitness, your fitness level and your income level, there's actually like real practical things. So I consider it, there's like 5 different areas where that is a real applicable thing. What I usually talk about is that the last thing on the list would be like your health. That's obviously and we can get into these a little bit more detail, but there's health, environment, presentation, self-confidence, and then the process. And so those are sort of the 5 steps. And so just for example, if you start with health, and I know you know this as a business owner, being healthy, having that stamina, whether that's mental or physical stamina to keep up with the daily demands, like you need that, man. You need that. If you have,
for sure,
especially like with landscaping, something that's to trades, this blue collar, obviously you need that physical stamina there to keep up with the day-to-day demands. But when you're running a business at the sort of the executive level, you need to have that mental and sometimes emotional stamina to keep up with those, because I don't think people realize, and this is a scientific thing for anybody who listens to Dr. Andrew Huberman, they'll know that he referenced this. There's an area of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which is basically like the discipline muscle. Science has labeled it the discipline muscle of the brain, because when you do things that are difficult to do, this area of the brain gets bigger. People who live longer, healthier lives, this area of the brain is bigger. So discipline is something that can be depleted. Willpower is something that can be depleted, and that comes from your mental and physical, or your mental and emotional stamina. So that's one of the reasons that health is important. Another thing too, if you go into a sales meeting or if you talk to somebody for a job or whatever, and that person sees that you are conscious about your health, the message, almost all these things portray messages, but the message that you're sending to that person is that you care about your health. You have that long-term mentality. You're on a long-term timeline. Probably you're not going to go in and snake this person or cheat this person or lie to this person, because you're thinking long term. And I know you know this just from your business and people you've talked to. You have to be in business. You have to be on that long term sort of mentality, because the short term stuff, the quick fix. First of all, these things don't work. The overnight success, none of that stuff works. But if you meet a person who thinks about the long term, like they want to be in business for a while, at the very least, they're going to be honest with you. They're going to try to work with you. They're going to try to do, deliver their product or service in a way that's going to perpetuate and continue their business, because they're on that long term timeline. So that's just an example of one of those, 5 sort of areas that's like a real practical way that you can, increase revenue.
Agreed. Well, the other thing is too, is if you think back, because you're absolutely right, you do have to create a lot of mental toughness, right? Like you do have to really exercise that. And it's actually one of the things that we're seeing a huge amount of in a lot of people that are coming up where their parents have done, we used to jokingly call them the helicopter parents at first,
Yep.
right? Where they were just kind of hovering over their children. And then one of my good friends who was a graduate level professor now calls them the snowplow parents. And so what's happening, these parents are coming in and they're literally snow plowing everything for their children. And these children are adults. And my mom has a saying, and she's had it forever, which is, we're not raising children, we're raising adults. Well, why does she have that saying? Because what we're trying to do is teach them some of that mental toughness, right? Well, we still have some guardrails, some barriers up. If you're not, to your point, if you're not exercising that muscle, like in the mental sense, right? Then you are going to do yourself a detriment in all things, not just in money. Money definitely, though, will follow if you are not, like I said, being diligent, etc. If a strong wind will blow you over and that's it, that's all it takes, you're not really going to lead to the successes, business-wise, money-wise, however-wise that you'd like, right?
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge, join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. The Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform. Start your path to financial independence now.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Hello and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4-693-733-107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, man, because one of the things I go over with my coaching is resilience and sort of building resilience. And it's easy to think about just sort of being there stoic, not being bothered by anything, but one of the best ways to build resilience is to have that connection with yourself. And this sort of leads back to the self-confidence point that I made about fitness. Basically, all self-confidence this is all this is. Okay, it's easy to think about like self-confidence. You love yourself. Like these things are all important. But basically, what self-confidence is trusting yourself, because over a long enough time period in the past, you have kept promises to yourself. So if you tell yourself that you're going to work out 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m., and you do that consistently, over time, you build a relationship with yourself that you become confident with yourself.
Yep.
If I tell you that I'm going to do a thing for you and I don't do it, you're probably going to lose some trust for me, and I'm probably not going to be able to get that trust back. The same thing is true with ourselves. If we make a promise to ourselves and we do that thing, we build a relationship with ourselves over time. So then we're talking about resilience. Something comes up, an obstacle comes up, you lose a client, there's a tough decision to make, whatever it is. When you have that relationship with yourself and you can look back over that timeline and say, you know what, I was in a similar situation, or I did this, I proved myself to myself at this time, I can trust myself now. Because I talk a lot too on my podcast about things like intuition, that inner voice, that inner guidance. Sometimes that, and I'm not saying every single inner intuition that you have, you should follow, but sometimes there's going to be like a very big decision, like, hey, for some reason, I'm drawn to start this business. For some reason, I just have it inside. There's this urge inside of me to start this business. Well, everybody that's around me tells me not to do this. I'm going to lose all my money. It's a big risk, whatever. So sometimes, man, there's those big decisions like that come from internal, that you have internally. And you had to be able to trust that inner guidance. And you can only do that if you have the self-confidence, to pursue those things. But just to close out on the resilience part for a minute, that's incredibly important, man. Having that connection with yourself, that relationship, knowing who you are, knowing that, you mentioned the wind, that if you go into this storm, you're going to be okay. I use an example all the time. You can't really control if it rains, but you can control if you get wet. You can control if you're prepared for the storm. You can bring an umbrella. Or this is another thing. This is the mindset shift, because one of the best ways to stay resilient is to change how you see what you think failure is. So if you're in the rain and it rains, you get wet. Oh, well, that sucks. Dude, you can create a incredible commercial for an umbrella out of that. You can make something out of what seems like a failure. And so that's,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, I talk all the time too. So not to go too deep, but basically there was this crazy financial hurdle that my husband and I have been dealing with for about the last 2 years. And some of it was self-created. Like there was some risk taken on our part that we knew would potentially go good or bad. We took some steps to make sure that it didn't go bad. Some things that were very outside of our control forced them to go bad. Like we're talking $300,000 house flood that was not caused by us, that put some major financial constraints. And I have so many people who are not only like, first of all, why are you sharing this story, right? Like this is basically your financial failure. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't see it that way. Yes. Does it suck? Yes. Is it like a very uncomfortable temporary situation? 1,000%. However, like you said, I have the self-confidence, the resilience. I know that this is only a temporary setback. It totally sucks. It's not exactly a fun experience. It's none of these things. However, the truth of the matter is that I have two choices. I can let this financial situation destroy me. That's choice one.
Yep.
Or I can look at it as, hey, not only is it something that I understand how to maneuver through, right? It may not be fun, but I can figure it out. Number two, I can now use it as something that I can use to help others. There's multiple layers here.
Yeah.
And so I choose to take that thing that happened to me and use it for good and use it for my own self-confidence, resilience, right? And to fuel me forward. Because as I say all the time, life happens. To your point, right? You can't control the rain. You don't get to make that decision. You're not God. You don't get to like go up in the sky and be like, okay, it's cool. We're going to like make it rain now. And so you have to put really good things in place, whatever that looks like for you. Right.
Yep.
And that is creating that resilience. And so a lot of times when people are going through our times, again, there's two choices. We can look at the dark cloud of, oh my gosh, this horrible thing happened to me. Why me? Why me? I literally had one of my friends ask me, man, what did you do to deserve this? And I'm like, I don't know. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with deserving it. Right. It's just life. Like it just happened. It's not like it was done on purpose to me. That's just how it went.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's a very dangerous mindset to say this thing happened to me,
Exactly.
Because that I hate to like really label it this, but that is what it is. It's like the victim mentality,
100%.
And that's very disempowering, because that puts the power of change in an outside source, whether it's this thing or another person or a politician or whoever. And it's like, I understand that there are such a thing as systemic problems. I get that. But if you look at any systemic problem, if you look at any system, all that is individuals within the system acting a certain way. So it still comes down to the individual. Like we think about the collective, the collective of, the human race. Like, oh, we have these problems, we're this, that, and whatever. But it's like, the reason it doesn't change is because we label it as the collective and not as the individuals inside the collective, And so I appreciate you sharing that, man, because first of all, I appreciate your perspective of that. And then like not having that victim mentality, because it would have been very easy for you to take that victim mentality, first of all.
Sure.
And then people would have supported you as if you were doing the right thing. Like, oh, well, of course you, like, why wouldn't you, And
right.
And it, man, it's I could really go off on a tangent on that victim mentality, but it's just very disempowering because it puts the power of change in the hands of somebody else.
Well, I just think that a lot of times people don't understand that you're absolutely right. Like I absolutely could have taken that. And in fact, there's definitely days where it feels that way. You want to sit in it for a minute and be like, oh my gosh, this is such BS. Like, why me? Like, I did so many different things the correct way. And I followed the rules and all the different things. And honestly, some of what's happened to me has actually forced me to really lean into myself, that I don't believe that all the rules apply. I think that you have to find the path that aligns to what you were saying. Like exactly what you were making the comment about, where you have something inside you that's telling you should do this and everyone else is telling you, no, you shouldn't do that or whatever. Look, I'm not telling you to not be intentional. If anybody listens to my podcast, they know one thing that I am very firm about is that you should go wherever you're going with intentionality, right? Know exactly like what you're looking to do, but understand that again, life is going to happen and there's going to have to be shifts that are going to have to be made along that path for you. And that's anything financially, of course. Okay. Right. That's like the easiest one to see, but all other things in life, right? Like you have to make appropriate shifts. And with that, it's not that you're not allowed to feel how you feel. You think that I haven't had moments where I've sat at this exact desk and cried my eyes out. Like, I don't get it. I mean, here I am with all the financial expertise and knowledge and education and you name it. Okay. Continuously. Why me? Well, guess what? Sometimes also because I have a loud voice, I'm not afraid to speak to it. I'm not allowed to let you know that I am just a human, just like you, failing forward, making a mistake and realizing that maybe that wasn't exactly the best choice, but I'm still going with that same intentionality in my life. Okay. That's the difference. Like you're talking about, I think a lot of also fitness has to do with the intentionality of it. You're correct, right? Like it's that intentionality that you're building that self-confidence by you constantly telling yourself, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do better, I'm going to improve my health, my wellness, my fitness, right? I'm going to do those things to better myself. Well, how in the world can that not translate into everything in your life? If you're doing better there, are you not going to do better everywhere else? Or are you just going to let those be like, you know what? I'm going to be a fitness freak, but my finances, like, we'll just let that go to the wayside. It's fine. Figure itself out.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified, your go-to podcast for making smart money decisions. We break down complex financial topics into easy-to-understand advice you can use every day. Our experts cover everything from budgeting and saving to investing and retirement planning. We give you the tools to take control of your money and build the future you want. With Financial Mastery Simplified, you'll feel informed and empowered to make the best choices for your financial health. Tune in to Financial Mastery Simplified on your favorite podcast platform. Start your journey to financial confidence today.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Welcome to House U, where we believe in the power of education. At House U, we're more than just a brand. We're your partner in home ownership, dedicated to educating, equipping, and empowering you every step of the way. Education is at the heart of everything we do. We offer comprehensive resources designed to make home ownership simple and accessible for all. From understanding mortgage options to mastering home maintenance, House U provides the knowledge you need to make informed decisions with confidence. We host workshops and seminars, bringing together experts and community members to share insights and build a stronger, more informed community. Because when you're educated, you're empowered. House U, home ownership made simple for all. Visit our website or contact us today to start your journey with House U. Empower yourself with knowledge and embrace the joy of home ownership.
Thanks for your patience. Now back to our conversation.
See, this is like, I love this connection, man, because this is like a real life example to what I'm talking about when I say the process. Like fitness, one of the things about fitness is it shows you that the process, the journey is the prize. That's what I always say. The journey is the prize. We think the journey along the destination is way more important than the destination that you think it leads to. So if you consider yourself, a financial coach or a person that's in the financial space or whatever, it is that you label yourself, it's part of that process to have something happen like this situation with your house that you have to deal with financially. That's part of the process for you. That's part of like becoming that person that's sort of educated in that space. I mean, it's just like when you talk about this, you're talking about this in a way that's like it's almost like heroic to hear this. I don't know if you can see this tattoo. I have a tattoo on a sleeve on my arm, and the outer portion on the bottom is a knight, and he's slaying a dragon on the inside. And so, you hear this mythical story that like the knight slays the dragon and the dragon guards the treasure and we get the treasure. Well, what that is a metaphor for the battles that we fight in life. I mean, we all have dragons that we face in life.
Yep.
And if you watch any superhero movie, anything, Batman, Superman, whatever, the majority of the movie is a battle. The majority of the movie is the fight. I think Batman lost his parents. Spider-Man lost his uncle. Like these things happen on this hero's or heroine's journey, so so I tell people, one thing I really tell people, and this is a real thing, don't try to solve whatever problem that you have. Yes, try to solve it, but that shouldn't be your ultimate goal. Your goal should be becoming a person who can solve problems, because if you become a person who can solve problems, we mentioned earlier, self-confidence. What can really happen to you if you know that you can solve whatever the problem is? Because if we're trying to solve problems, dude, we're going to drive ourselves crazy by trying to like fix everything. Like there's something that happens every day, every single day,
Exactly.
But just become that person who can do that. I mean, it's just like, I'm huge on identity. I think identity is critical.
It's so interesting to me, like how people, especially with money, they really, really grill it into their whole identity. To be fully transparent, so one of the things that our society has put as like a moniker of like badge of honor, if you will, is credit, right?
Yep.
What's your credit score? I'm going to be real with you right now. I'm pretty sure my credit score is somewhere in the 400s, maybe the high 500 or low 4 life.
You're a successful business owner. Of course it is.
Well, no, it's also because of this crazy house thing. However, people are like, oh my gosh, my credit. And I'm like, first of all, do you understand how malleable credit is? It's super malleable. Like if you actually know how to manipulate those numbers, you can do it, and actually fairly quickly. Okay. Yep. There's so many different ways, either legally or just with the ways that you maneuver credit cards and different loans and things like that. Yep. So the fact that you allow these outside things to negatively put connotation, and I think honestly, the killer of self-confidence truly is something that you and I use for the good, which is social media, right? You and I are using these platforms to try to get a message out, to try to help people, right? To further their ability to be self-confident. But the truth is, most people are not airing their dirty laundry on social media. It's super easy to like snap a little photo. Like go look at 90% of the photos that I have on social media. Not that I'm not telling the story, but like I'm smiling in all those photos. But what you may or may not have seen is like, 10 minutes beforehand, my account got overdrawn or whatever the heck, right? And like I was crying in my car. That's like the thing that you're not seeing on social media, right? And so often we're just killing ourselves with all of these expectations, be it financial or whatever. And to your point, we're supposed to be living lives that are satisfying and fulfilling. The journey of getting there is supposed to be point, right? Like it's not necessarily where you're going. I mean, how many times have you ended up somewhere totally different than what you thought, but you're like, man, this is such a better location.
Yeah.
Like this was so much better than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, man. Like I want to go back to the social media thing in a minute, but to like these long-term plans, like the 5-year plan, 10-year plan, I think you should know where you want to go, but you have to be aware of that might change along the way. Like that, success, whatever that looks like for you, might be different when you get there. And you have to, I'm very big on accountability. I'm very big on discipline, but you have to give yourself some credit and allow yourself to see when it is that you are successful, because it might look like different from what you think it's going to look like. But to go back to social media just for a second, I think social media allows us connect to other people, but the cost is that connection to ourselves, because 100%. You get on social media and it's like the beauty, we can't see the beauty in ourselves or in our own life because the beauty in others is magnified. Because like, I'll just go on record and say, and I hope you have the same audience after this question than you had before, but I'll just say that like, I think excessive social media is like very dangerous for women because
Oh,
they
it
just
is.
like you just see these like what would be beautiful women, and it's like you see other beautiful women talk about, oh well, I'm supposed to look like I look at that, I'm supposed to look like that. And it's like, dude, this person has like 5 filters on this photo. There's 5 filters. There's like that's like a 0.1% of that person's life. Like we're comparing what we're supposed to be to like 0.1%, if that, whatever, however long a picture is, like that snapshot, whatever that percentage is. Like we're comparing ourselves to this. Even if it's a video, it's the same thing. And
Yep.
like, with young men or men in general, they look on there, they see the car, they see the house, the beautiful wife or whatever it is. And they're like, dude, I'm supposed to, but like, yeah, you see that, but you don't see the several decades before that it took to build this life. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
and it's like, I don't know, man, it can be really good if we use it in the right way. I just think we had to be careful. Just like with AI, we had to be careful with AI.
Definitely, like it could definitely destroy you, like from a mental health perspective, because it is. I mean, you have to remind yourself, like you and I literally. So we had this conversation right before we aired this, and I was talking about how. So I have horrible allergies. Okay, like if it grows outside, like I can never be a landscaper, even though I actually love plants, because I'm literally allergic to everything that grows outside. Like if it is pollen, I'm allergic to it, and so when my allergies get off the chain, I get a sinus infection. So what did I have earlier this week? I had a sinus infection. And also the cold sore. And I was like explaining to him that, when I started doing like video podcasting and stuff, in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to face up, I have to be perfect and all the things. And especially as a woman and the fact that I grew up in the South. And so, I mean, my parents would ask me like, why aren't you wearing makeup and like stuff like that? And I just don't really. I've never really worn a whole lot of makeup. Not that I don't want to ever wear it. I just don't usually do that. And, I just sort of made the decision that even though, yes, there's moments that I probably could look a little bit better, I don't really care because this is real life and this is what I look like in real life. And I went to a party one time not horribly long ago and they said, wow, you're so much prettier in person. And I was like, I don't know if this is a compliment or a knock. Like, I'm not really quite sure.
Yeah.
And I think they actually meant it as a compliment. And the reason they said that is because I, as a general rule, unless I'm being goofy with my daughter, like putting ears on us for, Snapchat or something, I don't use filters. Because the truth is, I need you to realize I'm a real life person. I have real life problems just like you do. I'm going through life. Maybe I'm 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of you, but it doesn't mean that I'm special or that you can't do exactly what I'm doing, right? I give my brother huge credit because he is so much better at just being happy in his own life than most other people are. Because for a while I did the same. Like I wanted to chase all the things. And then you just realize, man, it's like a really awful trip down that path because you're not even chasing the dreams of your own self, right? You're chasing whatever somebody else told you to chase.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point too, because, like who says you're supposed to dress this way or supposed to put my, like, and what, dude, I've always said, like, if I was a woman, man, you can forget makeup. I'm not spending all that time putting makeup on. You just got to like me for me. I don't know what to do.
Have you ever watched the contouring videos? Let me just tell you, they are, first of all, number one, they take forever. And then number two, it's terrifying. Like people can literally make their nose look like it's broken. And I'm like, that is some crazy trickery.
People can also make themselves like completely different people.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I value self authenticity, man. And like, I'm trying to see what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned a good point though, because we have this sort of, wherever this expectation comes from, I don't know what, but we have this expectation, this belief that we're supposed to do a certain thing. And I think we're sort of carrying around, a lot of us are carrying around beliefs like that. We have beliefs about ourselves that came from another person, another thing. And like these things that we believe about either the world, about ourselves, what we think is possible, this isn't even something that we actually believe about us. This is something that was instilled in us by someone else.
Well, limiting beliefs and scarcity, like I talk a lot about scarcity mentality specifically. It is actually literally built in our DNA. Like that sounds really crazy to say. And a lot of people say, oh, you're trying to let people off the hook, that it's not their responsibility. No, what you do is your responsibility. But it doesn't mean that what you're predisposed to, right? Like what's literally built in your DNA is some of these scarcity and like limiting things. Because if you think all the way back, like to our ancestors, we really as a human race are the cream of the crop because we're the ones who survived, right? When there was like no weapons and we were like out there trying to forage for food and stuff like that or whatever, right? And so there was like a lot of scarcity. But we live in a much different time now. And so you do really have to, like on the financial side, kind of remind yourself of that. And it's one of the things that I talk a lot about in my programs is like, we have to rewire all this stuff, because not only should you be living a life on your terms, but we also need to be figuring out like, okay, what's blocking you, like from like holding you back from making some of these moves forward. And a lot of people, they don't even realize that exists. Like, right. And I talk, one of my big ticket items, and I could literally talk about it for days, is self-awareness. It's like so many people, because it is uncomfortable to look at the ugly in your own life, and remind yourself, when you're looking, you're going to see good too, right? That's the thing that cracks me up, is like, you're going to find the good.
Right.
You have to be able to have the self-awareness, or you can't get anywhere, right? It's like the fat person who sits on the couch and gets pissed off that they're still fat. Well, what are you doing? Like, are you having any self-awareness that maybe we should get off the couch to go to the, do exercise, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point too, because I talk a lot about self-awareness, and I say that one thing that I say is that self-awareness can alleviate, if not eliminate, a lot of problems we have, because like you have to know how you come across. Yeah. Because you have to know how you come across to other people. So like, I consider myself a very driven, ambitious person, but in the wrong environment to certain people, that might come across as demanding, too assertive, whatever the case is. And I'm not saying to water yourself down, but I'm saying like you have to understand like how you come across to other people. And you have to understand that sometimes you have to, a lot of times actually, you have to take into consideration the message that you think you're saying and what this person's hearing are probably two different things, So I mean,
for sure. There's some adjustment there. Like, if anything, let me just tell you, I work in a male-dominated field where I have been told or heard more times than I can count that, first of all, I'm a pretty woman. I must have slept my way to the top. Excuse me? What? Yeah. Number two, I am too aggressive, right? Like, I should be maybe a little more demure. There's nothing demure about me. So sorry. Love you lots, but that's never going to happen. Like, anybody who's ever met me, that's not exactly what they think of when they think of me. And so, yeah, like, but you're right. You do have to adjust. Like, there is obviously, like, when I'm having conversations with different kinds of clients and different kinds of people from different walks of life, there is a way to adjust your approach, right? As opposed, and that all does again come from self-awareness, right? And a lot of times, like, people just have to understand, and that's actually what cracks me up about society too, is that everyone's still also down the path of, it can be whoever I want, and everybody can't tell me how to be. And we're like, yeah, okay, we're not telling you that, but you still have to interact with everybody else. Like, we still have to coexist, and people don't really understand how to do that anymore, in my opinion.
I think you're exactly right. And I think also too, if you can figure out a way to deliver your message in a different way, that's when you really understand your message. Because if you have to say the same thing over and over, I don't really think you understand what it is that you're saying. If you can take it and alter it and adjust it to where somebody else can understand it, I think that's when you understand your message. There's a couple questions I usually ask somebody, and I say that you should have put enough thought into this to where you can condense these answers to answer all of these in under a minute. And that's, why do you do what you do? What do you do? Where do you do it? And who do you do it with? If you can answer those questions, and how do you do it? If you can answer those questions and within a minute, that tells me that you've really put thought into what this is. Now, why? That's a huge question. A lot of us can probably fill up an entire page on why we do what we do, but you can summarize it. You can summarize it into a couple sentences, and you can make those answers fit in a minute. But it's like, first of all, doing that little exercise is gonna almost force you to think and be more concise with what it is that the answers are. But yeah, man, I think being able to, and this isn't, like I said, this is not watering down your message. This is taking your message and sharing it with somebody who understands it in the way they can understand it. And that tells me that you really know what it is that you're doing.
So we had a conversation not horribly long ago, I think it was this last month, about the difference between authority and influence. And so I think a lot of times when people think about having, sort of presence in their own life, or presence, success, that comes with authority. But authority doesn't necessarily mean that you can move people to action, right? That's influence. Right. And influence doesn't always come from the loudest or, whatever. And so
very rarely,
I think self-awareness and the ability to make adjustment, right? To your approach and things like that. Honestly, with anything, that's going to show influence, like in your own life and within the lives of others.
Yep.
And this is, again, all going back to money, because if you're a business owner that has influence over authority, you can move people to action. You can have a more successful business, right? If you're somebody that can be influential, whether in your work, right? Life, etc. I mean, you are naturally going to find more levels of success. And again, a lot of this comes from self-awareness and understanding how your interactions with people is adjusting and moving the needle, right? Constantly and consistently. And so people just don't pull it all the way back. And in my opinion, that it's very sad, because I truly believe that people are powerful beyond measure. And they can literally lead, like, whatever is built inside of you, whatever is
Right.
that thing that bubbles up all the time. You can be that, like, you can lead that path. You can be successful at that path, but you are going to have some of these things that you were talking about that fitness is so tied in with, right? To be able to go down that path. And it's your choice. You can sit on the sidelines and you can never let what's going on inside you on all of this bubble up and find the success, both financially and in other ways in life, right? Like, you could choose that. That's your choice.
Yep.
Or you can intersect with it. You can interact with it. You can go down that path if you so choose.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love that, because I think you're talking about leadership. This is what I hear is leadership. And that definitely comes from internally. Like you mentioned earlier, you mentioned authority, difference between authority and influence. And I think leadership is a combination sort of the two, but I think you can
Sure.
only lead other people if you can first lead yourself, and that's
100%.
why, like, I'll work with people sometimes on leadership, but I might talk a little bit about like how to build the team, the right people, cause I consider there's 5 different types of employees, types of people, but it all comes back to the leader. I think Tony Robbins says that the success or failure of a company or an organization is 80% psychology of leadership or leader, and then 20% mechanics. I mean,
Yeah. Have you ever read the book Extreme Ownership?
Jocko Willink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize, like, that's the story of the Navy SEALs, like, and the guy, them switching the leader of the boats is
Yep.
like a crazy good example of exactly that. Because
Mhm.
so often, and honestly, and so that's the thing, you have to be the leader of your own life.
Right.
No one is
Well,
coming to be that leader for you. You have to be it.
Well, and that's exactly right. Have you ever heard Jocko say his story about sort of where that was born? That sort of leadership was so.
I don't think
he
so, but
was
maybe.
he was on some kind of mission or whatever, and there were his team was around him, and everybody was sort of aiming down their guns, and he saw that like nothing was happening, nothing was going on. So he said that he sort of pulled back, stepped back, and saw the situation, and then he said the next move to make, whatever that was, and then the people listened and they made that move. So he was like, when you're in the, because leadership is such a bizarre thing, man, because you're in it but you're also out of it, and you're like everywhere at the same time. And he was like in this row of soldiers basically, and everybody was like at attention, aiming down their weapons, but he was able to take a step back and look at the picture and see what was going on and see the move that needed to be made. And I don't know if that was in his book or not. I've heard him speak on that situation, because he's been in several battles, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think that, like I said, and we kind of got off of the fitness topic, but I think that the 5 points that you were talking about, right, that really connect fitness and finance, and then how those, I mean, I think that they honestly just connect success in general.
yeah.
And
Yep.
again, they're what so many people are missing and so many people are not embracing. And again, this all just goes back to choice, intentionality, right?
Yep.
Making decisions or whatever. Like, as crazy as it sounds, because I'm ADHD and I also am a classic overthinker, I sit and overthink on everything. Like, I joke about how I started this podcast, because basically, Trevor, like, I got told, no, we're just gonna start it next week, and I was like, no, like, I gotta think this through. And he was like, no, we're just gonna do it. And I struggled with even leading my own life to a point, right? Because I would sit in just constant self-sabotage mode, right? And so I think a lot of times people don't realize, like, you have to be the arbitrator of your own success, right? I mean, there's lots of other things that are going to come into play, but if you're not partnering with yourself to go the places, to find the intentionality, to do all of the things, you're never going to find what you're looking for. You're just not.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. There,
Well, awesome. We could probably talk about this for another
we
14
could.
years. However, we both have to go. So thank you so much, Cody, first of all, for being a guest. Tell us where people can find you if they are looking to, first of all, listen to your podcast and or intersect with you like on the coaching piece.
Okay, yeah. So the podcast is the Pure Wisdom Podcast. That's anywhere podcasts are found, Spotify, YouTube, all those. If you look on social media, I think my biggest social media is probably TikTok. I'm very active on TikTok. CJones803. Instagram should be the same. I think X is also the same. Facebook, Cody Jones. All that stuff. There's links for the coaching. I have coaching inquiry links on there. I have the podcast links to different socials. So all that stuff can be found on the platform of your choice.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully you guys found this episode of Financial Mastery Simplified helpful. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.